Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, it is another beautiful week. I am still far away from home. I have screwed up 2 opportunities to get home to see my kids. It's against the rules anyway. I'm not supposed to drive home because it's more than 100 miles away from this base. But timing has just never worked out for us. So, real quick, I'm going to talk about what we're going to discover. I don't know. I put a lot of words together there. This episode, we're going to be talking about putting together a simple passing game. You saw the title, Our Passing Game Sucks, right? So we're going to have a fix for that for you guys tonight. We're going to talk about just what goes into a simple passing game, how you can simplify passing the football. We're going to discuss perception being reality. So completing any pass makes you a pass threat. You don't have to be throwing Y cross and all these crazy air raid schemes, right? You can just throw simple hitches and stuff. And then the last bit there will just be about how you can fit a simple passing game to the kid you have this year or next year or the year after. And it isn't always going to be the same. So that's really what we're going to look at. Joe, before we move on, man, let's jump into our level up.
Let's do it. Who's going first?
Oh, I got you, man. So let me tell you about my level up. So I'm away. The good thing about the Army is anywhere that they have soldiers for any amount of time, they usually will ship in a weight room. And so I'm at a place in Kansas, their RTI, the Regional Training Institute in Salina, Kansas, and they have a very nice weight room, which is new since I was up here a couple of years ago. We used to have to use Kansas State Polytechnic Colleges here as well. Anyway, we got this new one. And so I'm utilizing. A good thing about these reclass schools is there's a lot of downtime. It sucks I'm away from home for a month, but it's like half days or 3/4 days when we go to work. So we get a lot of spare time. So I got my butt back in the gym. And let me tell you, I have hurt like the 3-day DOMs or whatever. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for over 2 weeks. I've been dealing with it. So I did some deadlift yesterday. It's catching up to me today. It's like the first real heavy weight I put on my back. Because my first week, I just kind of broke back in, just knocked the rust off. Not a lot of weight, not a lot of reps. This muscle in my arm, the one that connects your forearm to your like upper arm, your bicep, I don't know what that muscle's called. My wife will tell me when I go home.
Yeah.
Sets on top of your elbow there. They just locked up and I had T-Rex arms for 3 days. It was hilarious. Yeah, super good. But, it's kind of in the spirit of this episode, we're talking simple passing game. I have just been using a very simple, I use ChatGPT to build these things, by the way. So that's the real simplicity is just say, hey, you give me a workout plan. And I'm using like 6 exercise supersets and just like old school 3x8. And if you can get all 8, go up 5 pounds next week. So that's kind of the mentality I've been working with. And simplicity has been working, getting those newbie gains back. So that's my level up is I'm finally, I'll tell you what, I read a quote. My level up will be long, I guess. I'll give it back to you. But I read a quote. It was like a Japanese proverb, something like I don't know how proverb has trains in it, but it does. If you get on the wrong train, get off immediately at the next stop because the longer you're on the wrong train, the more expensive it is to get back. And I thought, obviously, at the surface, that's not very big. But when you start thinking about like, I got on the wrong train in my physical fitness a couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and now it's very expensive to get back where I was and where I need to be, paying the debt of pain or time or whatever, just looking like a pansy, embarrassment in the weight room. So excellent quote for my situation here.
That's a good one. I've been very good in my training the last, when was my competition? Competition was in January. I've got another one beginning of April. It's like the 31st. It might be the 31st or the 31st of March or 1st of April. So about what time this episode comes out. God, is that right? That's coming up fast. But it might be the week after because it changed. But it's like I'm kind of the same place. We just went through a general strength cycle after the last competition, and now we're getting ready for the next competition. And I'm getting all of the strength that I lost. I'm finally back to about where I was roughly 2.5 years ago when my son was born and everything kind of changed there. I finally figured out how. The biggest thing for me, it's like the same thing for you. What you'll have to figure out, is when you don't have that free time, right? When you get back to, so like it's taken me 2 years to find that sweet spot where every day I just get up out of this chair and I go to the gym. So what I figured out was I was basing it on whether or not I was going to have to pick my son up from daycare, right?
Right.
And I'd be like, well, I'll go at or like, and because my wife's schedule, she's a nurse, and sometimes she gets out early, and sometimes she's home at 2:00, right? And sometimes she's calls me, at 5 or send me a text at like 5:30 and is like, I don't think I'm gonna get out of here. Not 5:30, usually be like 4:30, and be like, I don't think I'm gonna get out of here. And so I would always just now I can't go to the gym. So, I figured out just get up and go at 4:00. And I have to work it around when my coach, we have I have a coach, or
Right.
coach is. And so the first coaching session starts at 4:30 basically. So I'm like, if I go 4, I'll hit like the heavy, the things that I need a coach for at 4:30. And if I get that text at 5:15, I can still leave at 5:30. I've got an hour and a half, got most of the workout, and then go, and I can make it work. And I finally figured that out. And now it's just every single day. So the next thing you have to do is figure out how to translate that to real life.
Home life. We're already like tackling that. My wife is, so we have a home gym, but it's out in the garage, right? It's not
Yep.
heated or cooled. Well, I don't know if you know about Oklahoma, but it's always 100 or like 30 there. We don't have
Right.
spring. I quickly realized like it's always too hot or too cold to go out in that garage and try to get any real lift in. So I think we're moving it into, so it might be the background in the podcast studio for a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to try to figure it out and just coexist that room with a lot of things. So we're going to try to, make it a little easier. Less things to say that's a reason I can't go, right?
Yeah. The one that I finally got that has kept me from missing, I haven't missed any time basically in 2025, but in workouts, but it's been dicey. And what gets dicey is the holidays, because nurses don't get most of those holidays, So
Right.
like President's Day, they really don't care. Like, she's like, I don't even know what President's Day. Like, she forgets that these are holidays. And I'm like, so Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, basically she gets like 4th of July, Memorial Day, maybe Christmas, Thanksgiving, right? That's kind of like, and even those like rotate depending on where she's working.
Right.
The home gym has saved me because I've gotten my son to where he will hang out downstairs while I lift. And so on those holidays, I've been able to, as long as I could set it up so that I had a workout, because we only have a 7-foot ceiling in the basement, so I can't do like overhead work.
For sure.
I have to plan it out, but I've been able to make that work. So yeah, it is a lot of having fail safes and like backups. So I've had to do a couple of them in our club gym that's across the street. Our
The
pool
tennis
and
club, the old
women's
tennis club.
club. Yeah, ye old tennis club, because they have a kids club where I can take him in the morning and I can go get a workout in. And luckily they have a pretty good setup. The bars are atrocious, but yeah, you like just finding all of the things to take out the excuses. And then the other one that I found this go round, and like I said, before my son was born, I had all the time in the world at night. I'd go at 6, I'd stay till, I'd stay for 3 hours, and just, it was like my hanging out time.
Right.
Because I like the people I work out with and stuff, and but now having to work it around other stuff. The other one that I figured out for me is I must go on Monday. No matter what, Monday is the day that, because I have, and I don't know if it affects, for me, I have a 4-day a week training program, and it's supposed to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I usually do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, just because Saturday is just like, there's too many pretty good excuses, like, and so
Saturday's easy.
Saturday's tough. I mean, Saturday's tough. Like, again, I need to use the day where I have daycare, right? I can't use the Saturday because, that is too tough. I mean, sometimes I do Saturday if I need to, but for me, I have a 4-day program, right? And so if I miss Monday, then it becomes, okay, do I go Tuesday, Wednesday,
4
Friday,
days in a row.
Saturday? Or do I go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is not optimal at all? And or I combine a day. And as I've told my coach before, who's always said, when that happens, always has said, just combine these two. And I said, if I get in my mind that it is okay to condense 2 workouts into one. This will very quickly become a 3-day-a-week program.
Yeah.
And it will be Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And that eventually becomes I missed the whole week. So, yeah, so my level up, it's just one of those things that I've been doing forever, but I've been really consistent with it. We've talked before about Driven, I Am Driven, and the Douglas Brackman, and it's a book that I really, really liked, and I went and purchased the meditation course. If you haven't been listening for long, that's a book that I read a while back, and Daniel, I think, read it as well. And it's basically about a thing in some people's brains that makes you, driven to do stuff. And one of the things is it kind of, gets into ADHD and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that is a major part of what he teaches is what he calls driven meditation. It's a certain kind of meditation. The big difference is you do it with your eyes open. So it's like a focused meditation. And I've been doing it and I went back and looked. I've been doing it since I think August of 2023, but it's always up and down. Like, I'll get good, but I found the sweet spot for me, which was 10 minutes. And I've now, so the level up, it's been 21 days. I had one day in there where I had the timer set for 10 and got interrupted at 7, but 20 out of the 21 days. And I'm going to count that one because I was there, right? I started on Monday. Yeah, I started on Monday, but we didn't make it but 21 days straight, one slightly off, but 21 days straight at 10 minutes. And just really feeling like meditation is one of those things that, like, I hear lots of people talk about it. I've done it. I've read books. I've tried different types of meditation. Some of it just kind of calmed me down, or just sometimes it's just a break. I mean, I know some of the stuff I used to do, I ended up just falling asleep all the time. Like, I can't just lay down, close my eyes, and rest. I've done different styles, but the driven meditation style that he talks about, 10 minutes, which 10 minutes is a good number for me because it's enough to get something really out of it, but it's short enough where I can just go, I got 10 minutes. And I've been doing it first. I attached it to as soon as I walk in the office in the morning. That's the first thing that I do. And I've got a routine now. And so, yeah, that for me is, I'm starting to feel I think even though I've been doing it for a year and a half, whatever that is, of this style, I'm feeling the benefits of it. I would actually just clearing my mind and I can tell the difference, I think. So that's cool.
That is good. Building that confidence in whatever your thing is, I think, is a big part of it, right? Like, it doesn't matter what I take nootropics a lot, the alpha brain stuff. And it's like, if you just take that and you're not a believer, you'll get like an energy rush, but I feel like you don't capture the benefits. If you are a believer, you've read about it, you've done the research, then you're like, no, I can feel that I am more detailed. I am more focused. So yeah, being a believer definitely helps, I believe. Excellent, man. Well, let's real quick. I want to remind you guys that we're requesting that you refer a friend to the podcast. So take this podcast, share it out. It doesn't matter if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. There's a share button there. Press that share button. Send it out to your Twitter. Send it out to your Facebook. Get the episodes out there. Last week, we talked about needing a simple defense and just getting back to the basics of the 4-2-5. Next week, we're going to be talking about having a lack of time to coach the right thing. So really getting into that schedule management, prioritizing certain things, making you be a better coach. A lot of times you hear about, if it takes you 3 hours to have a practice, well, you're probably not coaching stuff very well. So we're really going to talk about how you can kind of iron out the details, what you really need in your practice schedule going throughout your off season, in season, whatever. So that's all on next week's episode. So you stick around for that one. But just remember to refer those out to a friend. If one of those is something your friends need, especially a lot of us at these smaller schools, we need some of these topics more. The big ones, sometimes I don't know, they feel fancy, but a lot of us do need it. So shoot the episode out. Before we get going here, Joe, let's go ahead and pay the bills.
Yeah. So, the difference between a championship defense and your defense that's struggling every week isn't just talent. It's not just luck. It's your system. And if you don't have a system, then you're going to scramble every week trying to fix problems on the fly. Your players are going to be confused. Your assistants aren't on the same page, and your defense is constantly on its heels. I've worked at JDFB over the past 15 years with thousands of football coaches, and they're making the same mistakes that I see over and over again, overcomplicating football, running a stack of plays with no real reason behind it, just calling front stunts, blitzes, coverages, from your gut, from the seat of your pants. And once we get those coaches into a real defensive system, everything starts to change. The players are playing faster, the coaches have more confidence, and you start to win more football games. And that's why I put together the latest free guide at JDFB, which is called What You Need to Know to Build Your Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. Inside this guide, you'll get the blueprint for building a defensive system that works so you can simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in. That's a big one. And take control of the game. So download the free copy at joedanielfootball.com/system to take the guesswork out of coaching and build your ultimate defensive system that turns your football program around this season. And as with the next one, if you are in your car or at the gym, ask Siri to remind you. Just say, "Hey, Siri." She didn't hear me that time. Remind me to go to joedanielfootball.com/system for a free coaching guide.
Snuck one in on her. Awesome. Also want to tell you about Athletic Speed Movement. Guys, if you've been listening to the podcast anytime at all, you've heard us talk about this program. This is your year to jump in, right? Bottom line up front, we want to make your kids faster. All of your kids, your linemen, your quarterback, your running backs, your wide receivers, your defensive players, it doesn't matter where they are on the field. Your kicker is going to get faster. He's got to cover kickoff too. You know what I mean? We're going to make them all faster. The basics here, man. It's a 12-week program. Okay, you can buy it now, get it started in 12 weeks. You can start it over if you're getting a new batch of kids back from other sports. If it's middle of your off season, you'll figure out how to work the plan so that you can just restart certain weeks and work on basically what you need to. There is an in-season part of this. We have an in-season schedule so that you can take that program and use it year-round. It's not something that's only good in the spring or only good in the fall. You can use it all year with whatever kids you have there. 20 minutes a day, beginning your practice, 2 to 3 days per week. I think Dale recommends like 2, right? So you're talking about 20 minutes a day, 2 days a week.
2 days a week. Yeah, it's a 2-day-a-week progression.
Yeah. So super easy. It works. It's proven. There's testimonials all over the website from NFL players to college coaches, whoever you want to talk to. Go talk to those guys. We talk about Ron Roberts is the one we've really kind of broke down recently, and he won, a lot of games. He had a winning percentage of like 600 plus or something at his time at 2 different campuses. And this is what he said helped him win a lot of games.
Won a national title, too.
There you go. He
Division II national champion.
Used Dell's program, used the athletic speed movement ideology, and made college kids faster. So if he can make college kids faster, I promise you those 14 to 18-year-olds on your team can get faster. Just like Joe said, holler at Siri. If you're using Grok, look, Elon's got Grok where you can talk to it now. Talk to Grok. Tell Grok right now, hey, schedule athletic speed movement. When I get home, remind me to bring up that website and get signed up today. athleticspeedmovement.com. Cool. Sweet. Well, we'll move on here, man. Let's jump into section number 1, and we're just going to talk about what is a simple passing game. We've talked about that's what's going to fix our problem. What is it, though?
And so inside of the Pistol Power Offense system, which is part of JDFP Premium Coaching Systems that you can get into at joedanielfootball.com, we have everything from, we have a 3-step passing attack. We have a 5-step passing attack, which we've talked about, mirrored concepts that we can tag and we can create basically anything we want. We have a full play action package. We have a screen package. We have all of these things that are a part of the Pistol Power Offense system, most of which came from Coach Bill Mountjoy, and is a great passing, is a great passing system, and we just adapted it and continue to keep it very simple. But we're not even, for the purposes of this podcast, I think we're not even talking 5-step passing, right? We're not even. So, and as a matter of fact, my own team this past season, who won first playoff game in school history, hosted a home playoff game for the first time in school history, won first playoff game in school history. We did not, and really did not have what I would say is a true quarterback. We have some kids who may develop into that, but they were both sophomores. And then we had a really good athlete who, so we used 3 different quarterbacks. So 2 of them were sophomores who haven't developed. They may develop that quarterback, with the 3 quarterback system. They couldn't develop through the year, but I don't think if we had done that, we would have been where we were. We did not throw a single 5-step concept. We threw nothing but our 3-step quick game, screens, play actions. And I think when you're talking about a simple passing game, the way to do it is to build around either you need to build it around throws that are going to be decided pretty early or made much easier. So what I mean by that is either your 3-step passing, which for the most part you decide pre-snap, okay, this is where I'm going, or it's a very quick read. And the best example is the hitch. Someone actually asked about, how do I develop? This was a great question, by the way, in our Chalk Talk Q&A, our Chalk Talk strategy session that we had last week for our JDFB coaches. We do them monthly during the off season. So we'll have another one coming up at the end of March, and then, kind of basically about the third or fourth Monday of each month. It's usually the third Monday, but so many Mondays have been accosted by holidays now. Nobody wants to work, so we have to adjust sometimes. But a great question from somebody who asked, in JDFB, there's a quick start guide, and in the quick start guide, there's my philosophy of offensive playbook, which is essentially pick a play and build everything around it. So we take the example of power. We run power. We get great at power. And then the other plays we don't have to be that great at, right? So we're great at power. And as long as we can run power off tackle, we're going to run power off tackle. But then if your backside linebacker keeps coming over real fast with the guard pull or whatever, with the kick out, we run the counter. If the overhang safety starts getting in there and making the tackle, then we know that the edge is tight and we run the toss. If the corner starts getting involved, starts stepping up, you run the play action, power pass. And you can do that too with the strong safety as well, because you can out leverage him. But if the corner gets nosy, that's your shot. That's your shot play. And if the defensive tackles start widening out, opening up the middle, then you run, something simple like wedge, or you can, we would run inside zone, but a lot of our teams are, especially the basic playbook is built around a youth idea, and then we kind of expand it out. The way that I draw that up, which is like wedge and toss for teams that don't use the zone package. Most of our high school teams are using both the zone and the gap scheme. So I had a coach who asked a great question, and he said, how would I do this? How would I apply that if I wanted to build around passing instead of running? And I said, it's interesting, and it's a little bit different, and there's maybe a little bit of mental gymnastics, I guess. But if you take the basic hitch concept, it's pretty simple, right? If I take the hitch concept, and if the corner is 7 yards or more off, I'm throwing the hitch.
Right.
See a hitch, throw a hitch, right? And you just get great. I said, if you take the hitch and you get phenomenal at throwing the hitch, and you just can throw the hitch all day. Then if the corner comes up, you run the fade. Now the fade becomes easier. I've gotten so good at hitch that only if the corner is, is basically in no man's land or pressed, do I throw the fade. And so I don't have to be that great at the fade. I just have to be able to get the corner up, and then if I can throw over him. And then, let's say that the overhang safety starts widening out to where he's now in the hitch window. Well, now I tag an all hitch, or in our case, we ran it as an all hitch as the base. And my number 2 receiver is now going to run a hitch. And so I'll just, now because you've gotten your strong safety too wide, I can throw the all hitch to number 2, and it opens that up. And so in that way, it's the same concept. And of course, then there is the next step, which is if they lighten the box so much that I can't throw the hitch to either side, and I can't throw any hitches, I can't throw any fades, I can't throw, because they've got it all covered. Well, then I should be able to run the ball pretty well.
Right.
pretty effectively. And, all of that just goes back to the simplest numbers count of, the spread count was, if I got a 6-man box, I do the thing I'm best at. If I got a 5-man box, I'm running it. If I got a 7-man box, I'm throwing it. And that's the 10 personnel 7-man box, I'm throwing it. And that's the throws that your passing game sucks because you don't have a quarterback who either, number one, throws the ball great, or number two, is committed to that quarterback life, right? That quarterback life is the classroom, the film time, he's committed to understanding the art of playing quarterback. And like, when you have that kid, that guy, that's when you can do our 5-step passing game and expand the package. Or you can do the air raid system, or you can do the R4 stuff, or you can do a true quarterbacking system, right? When we're small schools, we may not have that guy. Or the guy that's the best guy to be touching the ball every play is not that guy, right? I'm not, when I've got 27 players to choose from, I'm not going to put the kid at quarterback who has the most desire to be a quarterback. I'm going to put the kid who's going to win the most games, because we got to win games. And so to do that, we need to make the passing for him as simple as possible. I lost Daniel. Daniel's back. Okay.
I'm in and out. Sorry.
In and out. That's okay.
The travel Wi-Fi it's a great thing to try to run a podcast on. So.
Yeah. So ultimately, it goes back to this idea of the offensive playbook design, and how do we make the passes as easy as possible? And so that's, I think that's what we want to get into. All the tools are in the Pistol Power Offense system that you need for this. And they're all basic. They're things that you can do with, any offensive system. You can apply it to any offensive system, but with the Pistol Power Offense, these are all these tools are in the toolbox. And then you just look at, how can I make this work best for my kid, my quarterback, my team, my receivers.
Absolutely. I think, when we start asking what is the simple passing game, all those things you just said, and also it's just not a complex passing game, right? You can turn anything and make it very, very simple, right? We're going to talk these 3-step drop and start with a hitch and throw a hitch, see a hitch, throw a hitch. But we as coaches get bored, I think, and then we start adding a lot. I'm a huge fan of tags. I will tag everything because I can, in my brain, make that be 5 formations, 3 run plays, 2 pass plays, and I can show 100 of everything on Friday night. But we have to also admit, like you said, if I don't have a quarterback living the quarterback life, he has to remember every tag. So that very simple passing concepts that I'm just tagging up a little bit, well, it's tagging up a lot for him. So in my brain, a simple passing game is one that you just haven't overcomplicated with answers, right? Your answers are built in, very, very simple stuff. Part 2 here, we're just going to talk why is this right for any certain coach? So why is it that it's okay for me to use a simple passing system regardless of what level I'm at in high school football as a coach?
So, you can do this with any team, any system. You can find a guy. Now, obviously, the better talented, the better you are, the better you got your clay to work with here. Sometimes some of us got really good clay, and some of us got kind of dry, crusty clay. We got to figure out how to make it all stick together and look like a something. But we can take this concept and apply it to whatever it is that your kid does. If it is pre-snap, look out there and see if you haven't been through all of this, you're not gonna understand. So you just got to trust me on this. Things that we think, like Daniel said, things that we think are super simple and obvious, not everyone can do. And so understand when I talk about the 7-yard off, see a hitch, throw a hitch. That's straight from Tony DeMeo, podcast guest. See a hitch, throw a hitch, right? Tony has always had a kid who can throw a hitch because he's a college coach. Okay. To tell a kid, if you see the guy 7 yards off, throw the hitch. Not every kid sees 7 yards the same, right? Not every kid goes catch and throw quickly. That for some, you can hammer it. But some of them are always going to want to see the open receiver. And again, guys who don't live this life will go, well, you just keep working it. It's like, I'm going to tell you, I kept working it for 3 years. The hitch ain't there, right? I promise you, I understand. But if that kid ain't living the quarterback life, and we just got to make it work. Some of you have never had this, and I hope you never do. But there are a lot more people listening to this podcast who have been down the road of, we don't have a quarterback, and that is why our passing game sucks. And we try to fix it with option, and we've got the guy there that can run or whatever, but we need to be able to, the more you can throw the ball, again, another tool in the toolbox, the more you can throw the ball, the better you are. You can do this. If you get the kid who understands 7 yards off, see a hitch, throw a hitch, and he'll do that, you would be shocked at how many teams play their corners, at least one of their corners, 7 or more yards off all the time. And then if he gets and the reason he's playing 7 or more yards off is why? He doesn't have confidence that kid won't run by him. And so you'll throw the hitch and you'll complete 8 hitches. And you know what? That's a passing game. Okay. And then he'll move up and you'll throw the fade because that's all you do. And you throw the fade. And here's the thing. You don't throw the fade to complete it. You throw the fade to make the kid feel like that guy ran by him and you almost got it. But you throw it up and outside and to the boundary so it's not a long throw, right? And then that way he goes, oh, better back off. And I opened the hitch back up. And so at the end of the day, I go 70% on my hitches, okay? I go 7 for 10 on my hitches. I go 1 for 5 on my fades. I've got an 8 of 15 passing day.
And
is it glorious?
65 yards or something.
Yeah, right? 75, 100 yards. One of those hitches now, this is the other thing. Everybody goes, well, hitch is a 5-yard throw. Yeah, but it's a 5-yard throw on a kid who's the worst tackler on the team. So if I can do that to my best kid, if I've got a decent athlete out there, one of those hitches goes for 70. Yeah. Right? Now, and here's the thing. Now everybody, this is the key. Perception is reality. They don't see that you completed 8 of 15 for 125 yards. They see that you threw for 125 yards. Okay? They don't see that it was 6 5-yard hitches. That's 30 yards. And then I completed 1 fade ball for 30 yards. That was 60. And then I snapped off a 65-yard, broke a hitch, right? They see 125. They threw it all over.
Fast math, Joe. I'm gonna be honest.
All over math teacher, brother. So what I'm saying is, and that's a very simplified look. But if you can do that, if you have that kid, now that's not the answer for everyone. As I said, what is the thing that we do that is going to make it the best passing game for us? I go back to Tim Murphy and the double wing and being so good with the double wing that eventually teams go, I got to put a 10th guy in the box. We can't just let him run on us all night. Well, as soon as the 10th guy walks up in the box, they throw a moonshot, dying duck to a wide open receiver who fair catches it. Right? He's so open. And the ball is just floating up in the air and he's all alone. And they still only complete half of them. But at the end of the day, they are 2 for 4 for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
Okay. Passing attack. Boom. And so now everybody goes, well, we can't get up in the, we got to keep 9. We got to be able to stop them with a 9-man box. If we go with a 10-man box, we're giving up a touchdown. It's a passing attack. Done. So then you look at, okay, maybe it's play action. Maybe your run game is so good that guys have to get involved. And also, I can get my quarterback on the move so that I can make shorter throws for him. So I don't need him throwing a hitch all the way out to the numbers. I can roll him out off of a fake and throw a power pass in the flat. And I always love throwing the power pass in the flat because, or our naked 26 naked, which is a boot out off of a stretch pass. It's a stretch boot. Because the main throw, there's a deep shot, there's an intermediate, but the main throw is a 1-yard flat route. But it's good because your strong safety, your flat defender, bid on the run fake, boom, I get outside of him, I throw a 4-yard pass, turns up and averages 12 or more. And again, I complete 4 or 5 of those, I've got a 50-yard passing day. Right. And off of that throw. And then hopefully I have 1 or 2 other things that I can do. Maybe it is your screen game. Maybe you are able to use your screen game to especially not so much middle screens, because like middle screens kind of rely on you have a game, right? A middle screen relies on the linebackers dropping out, the defensive lineman pass rushing. And well, if nobody believes that you can drop back pass, then the middle screen usually still is okay because kids are just trained to do that. But you're not going to get the clean middle screen like you would if you actually can throw drop back passing. But bubbles, looks, again, you can throw a look instead of a hitch, just turn and catch it. But throwing a bubble to the number 2 receiver, because strong safety gets down tight, you throw the bubble. And that's magical stuff because, again, perception is reality, and they don't see that you didn't throw a single ball past the line of scrimmage, that they were all technically screens. What they see is 8 for 15 for 105 yards. And now your passing game, actually what they'd see with that, hopefully, is like 13 of 15 for 105 yards, because you should be completing most of those if that's the basics of what you're doing. And then you learn, how to use those and how to call those bubbles and how to call those quick screens, alley screens, different things that you can use to open up the passing game. And a fourth one. Sorry. We got the screens, we got the play actions, we got the quick game, and a fourth one would be RPOs. So maybe you have a kid who understands the RPO concepts. And so what you've done now is you've let him read it, give it if it's not there, but if he sees it. So this, again, different kids do different things well. The kid who doesn't want to throw the hitch because he doesn't trust just catch and throw based on a pre-snap read. Well, maybe if he reads that guy and he sees wide open receiver, now he can come up and throw to a wide open receiver. And so what we've done in all of those cases is stack the deck in our favor. Either a really, really simple hitch throw. Hitch is just one example, quick game. Hitch, slant, fade. Either a really simple pre-snap read throw. And again, you can use more than one of these. We use all of these this year except for the RPO. We use play. Everybody should be using some form of play actions, I think. That just, it kind of goes without saying. And almost everybody's using screens of some sort. Add in your quick game. And but your passing game might suck because you're trying to do all of these and something else. And the best thing to do would be, and your air raid, 5-step package or something else that's, and maybe you just kill all that and let's get back to this and complete the passes. Because if you're, and you have to determine, am I developing a guy or whatever, but like if you were 7 for 20 with 4 interceptions, all of these are relatively low risk throws, right? If you were 7 for 20 with 4 interceptions, your passing game sucks. Like, it's not good. That's not okay. That's important. Don't turn the ball over. So the kid who doesn't want to throw that hitch because he needs to see it might see the RPO. But what you've done is you've made this the simplest throw possible. You've stacked the deck in your favor in that if I'm throwing the hitch, it's because that corner is 8 yards off. And as long as I know how to catch and throw a hitch, it's going to be there. It's easy. Yeah. If I'm running play action passes, the throws are easier because the guy who's supposed to be defending the flat, or maybe the guy, if the corner gets involved, the guy who's supposed to be defending that deep ball is up playing the run. And so there's all these people going the wrong direction, and I've opened somebody up. If I'm using the RPO, that guy is in conflict. He's either got to stay and I'm going to hand it off and have one less in the run game. But if he steps up to defend the run game, I've opened up that pass. And again, in the stat line, it's not, they called, whatever zone read pass, we call it repo is our RPO tag. So like, it's not that you called outside zone with an RPO tag on the backside 9 times. What do they see? They see 9 passes, 8 of them were complete for 72 yards on that one play. Right. And so that's what they see. And then they see that, hey, they also run outside zone really well. Remember that a lot of times teams can't, it's hard to tell whether it was an RPO or a play action a lot of times
Right.
So they're looking at defending a couple different things. And if your opponents don't run RPOs, they can't simulate that in practice. And then, the screen game, same deal. You are setting up numbers, you're setting up blocking, you're setting up, who do you want to get the ball to, putting guys in different places. So your screen game can help you there as well. So you're making it so that the easiest possible throws are available to you, and none of these are complex. The most complicated things I mentioned there was the RPO, and when I hesitate to mention the RPO, but I think I set it up enough by saying a lot of kids, not every kid can just throw a hitch. Not every kid can throw an RPO. Not every kid's going to be great at reading it. And if your passing game sucks, that may not be the place to go. But you might have a kid who just naturally gets it.
Yeah.
And so you can use that. So we're stacking the deck because we don't have, remember, the whole concept here is we don't have a kid living that quarterback life. You don't have that kid. So we're stacking the deck so that the kid that we do have, we're going to find the couple of things out of all of this that he does really well, and we're going to get a passing game back.
Yeah. I think, you as a coach can really use this because it doesn't matter. Look, we've gotten into that era, at least in coaches in my circle, where everything is rules based. We're talking if then football. We're talking, you talked about the RPO game. If you're air raid certified and you're going to run Y cross, this fits there too, right? Because you just cancel out 2 of the routes and you play this very simple quick game with a 2 wide receiver set. If you mentioned R4 earlier, look, if you are R4 and you're going through your halo, that's a lot of reads for a kid that maybe that could get too complex. It's pretty complex as a coach to go learn that, right? But still, your kid understands where these openings are, and you do as well with your play calls. So it's all about just you simplified this football game down, just passing attack to we're just going to put it where the defense isn't. And then when they make the change, we've got the next thing, right? We know what comes after that. So I think that's why you can do it wherever you're at. If you talked about wing tee, flex bone, spread to run. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do in football right now and what rules and systems you run. A simple passing game is very, very doable, and it's probably just going to exactly replicate what you're doing in your run game, right? I teach a running back 2 reads. I teach lineman reads. So why not just teach a wide receiver and a quarterback the same thing? So I agree that anyone can use this wherever they are. But coach, to talk about wherever they are, we do also have to talk about kind of this third point here is just what about the team? You said it. I don't have a kid that can really throw a hitch, but honestly, a simple passing game we've got to be able to fit whatever level of football team we end up with that year, right? So kind of how do we work that in? So how can a coach use it no matter what his options are for players or playbook or whatever?
Yeah. So, we start with the quarterback. And I think this is where a lot of coaches make the mistake is they go, our passing game sucks. We need to go study this passing guru. And, just as an example, I love Dub Maddox. I love his stuff. It absolutely blows my mind listening to Dub talk. And I love all the stuff. I don't have a kid that's doing all that. Dub has a different group of kids than I have, right? So the thought of I'm going to go find the passing game guru and do this fancy passing game to fix my passing game when I've got a quarterback who's not going to be learning it. And that might not be the answer. And usually it's not. Usually it goes pretty poorly, honestly. You know, you want a simplified passing attack. So there's also other things to consider here. And so all of this this whole concept is built around we can do this based on your guys. If you don't have a kid out there who is ever going to break a hitch, maybe the hitch is not worth it for you. Now, if you've got a kid who is dangerous, can run, first of all, you better have several of them, because otherwise, if you can't throw, that kid should be in the backfield and you should hand it to him.
Just hand it to him.
Yeah, hand it to him. By the way, if we're just going by stats, jet sweep with the flip. Now, I prefer jet sweep under center, but jet sweep with the flip does count as a pass.
Hey, we racked up many hundreds of yards on jet sweeps this year.
So keep that in mind. That will pad the quarterback stats. So if you've got the kid out there, the game breaker, but you just need a way to get him the ball, the hitch is the obvious answer, right? Let's simplify this. Or the RPO is the obvious answer. Because, like, you're going to leave him uncovered, essentially, by jumping up there to defend the run. If you don't have receivers out there that you really want to get the ball to, then things like, for example, power pass might be perfect for you, because then you can use the H-back, who in our system is often one of our better athletes. I can leak the H-back out after he whiffs on the kick out, and I'm doing the air quotes for the people listening on the podcast.
For sure.
So he misses the kick out, which is to sell the run, and then he leaks out into the flat, and I have a way to get the ball to the H-back in space, which can be difficult to do in general in your run game. If I don't have a good offensive line, right? I love offensive line. Now, the hardest part about this is if you don't have a good offensive line. Now, let me back up. If you don't have a good offensive line at all, that's really hard. But if you're in our system, you can use gap schemes and you can hit guys in the side of the head, and you don't have to be that good. Because if you hit them not the side of the head, hit them in the side of the hip, don't know head to head or anything. You hit them in the side of the hip instead of in front, and it's a lot easier to block them. And then you just get, again, really good at power or one of the other plays, but you build around that one play. That's how you fix your offensive line in the run game. So now you got them fixed in the run game, but you spent all this time fixing them in the run game. How are you ever going to get them to be great in pass protection? Very simple. Don't hold the ball very long. Boom. So if your offensive line is really bad at pass protection, play action might not be the answer, especially if your quarterback's not that mobile. Then you're going to want to get good either at the RPOs or the screens or the hitches. Something where, like, you don't need offensive linemen to throw bubble, right? You could take them all off the field, snap and throw the bubble, right? And you'd be fine. The only problem is that they would probably know that you're not running it. But if some of you guys are out there with an offensive line that might as well be off the field anyway on passing game, throw bubbles, throw quick screens, get the ball out. So whatever it is your situation, if you don't want to throw to the receivers, but you got some dynamic athletes in the backfield and you want to get them out somehow, then maybe it's middle screen, maybe it's play action. If you've got offensive linemen that have worked really hard to get even moderately capable in the run game, but they, we just don't, if we're going to do that, we're spending 80% of our time in the run game, and so we need a passing game, then quick game, screens, get the ball out, because you're still probably going to get some penetration on the play action, right? If you got a dynamic quarterback, you're going to want to use the play actions, get him moving out there, get him, and it also going to give him shorter throws, more confidence in his throws. If you've got the kid that can read it, that's great, and you can throw the RPOs, because and as with everything, guys get into the RPO and they go, "Oh my God, we can read off of anything." Settle down. Let's start with one. Let's get one good run play with a read behind it, and let's get good at that. Like,
I love it.
And then, of course, and there's the sliding scale. It's like, if you get really good at hitch, If you get really good at hitch and fade and maybe slant, it's not, in our system, it's not a big stretch to put the 5-step curl flat in. It's not a big stretch. And it's not a extremely hard throw. So you can continue to evolve this. And in fact, this year, because we were only going 3-step, we changed our pass protection for the first half of the season to what was supposed to be a simpler protection. And essentially just using our zone count system and step inside, basically. Everybody just step inside, build a wall. Old
Block
school.
your dude.
No, didn't like it. 6 games in, we said, look, I'm tired, because there were always things that broke the, there were always things that was like, well, we got to do this different. Our half man, half slide, for me, I've been teaching it forever. I installed half man, half slide on a Monday, and our protection immediately got better. We were asking less of the backs, and the protection immediately got better. The offensive lineman understood who to get. I got him. Boom, we're good, because it's a half man, half slide, but it really is a slide to a man. It's all in the pistol power offense system. So if you install that passing game protection, now if I was teaching really young kids, I might not do that, right? At the youth level, I might just all step inside and see a hitch, throw a hitch type stuff, or play action or whatever. But that 6-man it's actually a 7-man protection. That protection scheme that we use for quick game is the same protection scheme that we use for 5-step. And so I think we even ran a little bit of 5-step at the end of the season, if I remember right. That to be a blur there after a little while, but I don't think it wasn't like some great success that I would be like, there you go. See, I think we were seeing a cover 0 team we put in post. That was it. But so basically, and then we have read routes too, by the way. We have a trips route that reads number 3. Everybody else is clear outs and things like that. We have in the pistol power offense, we have a passing attack we call it America, red, white, and blue, from Coach Mountjoy. That's a cover 0 beater out of 3x1, and it's essentially a read off of one guy. It's a pre-snap read. Same thing. It's a pre-snap read where we go, and by the way, like if you call hitch and the guy presses up, it automatic converts to a fade. It's the same kind of concept here. We look at the number 3, it's a cover 0. We've got the free safety over top of the number 3, and it's red, white, and blue. If the guy over top of him is deep, then we throw it short. If the guy is medium, we throw it out. So it's got a whole system in there. We throw it vertical if he's up. So like there's so many things that you can do, and I think nobody will look at it and go, look at this simple idiot passing game. They won't. Perception is reality. They will go, look at this passing attack. We cannot load the box because they can throw. And the most important thing to remember out of all of this, again, there is an answer for your kids. There is an answer for you as a coach. There is an answer for your quarterback. But the most important thing out of all of this is perception is reality. Balance is not being 50-50. Balance is the threat of being able to run or pass at any given time. As long as they believe, and I go back to the double wing, I just need to complete one. Because the second that you get all those guys up in the box, and the second that I see corners making tackles, I throw it over their head. They're moving forward on the snap, and I throw it over their head. I just completed a 60-yard pass on you. Perception is reality. You have the threat of any time that you get 10 up in the box, I'm going to run a couple guys vertical, and I'm going to complete one on you.
Yeah, molding this to the players you have on your team from year to year, I think, is what's so key to it, because you mentioned it. Like, look, if I'm throwing to the field on a hitch, that's a really hard throw. Dominic Franks came on this podcast and talked about like the field fade ball is like, no one's throwing that in high school. Right? It's just too big of a throw. Very few. I mean, I've seen some levels of football; they're probably throwing it, but
yeah, I mean,
not a lot. But
I do. It is something that you can throw, but again, when we throw, if we're depending on your concept, When am I
Yes.
throwing the fade? I'm throwing it way outside.
Yeah.
So if I just have a kid who can chuck it, and the problem with the fade ball that you got to teach your kid is, look, you're not a big arm quarterback. Don't try to throw it 40 yards down the field. Throw it 20 yards and way outside.
Yeah. But the simple, even if you just take hitch, fade, slant, you can get a receiver in the striking distance of your quarterback, regardless of who he is. And if he truly can't throw the ball, that I really think your screens and RPOs are probably where you're at. And RPOs don't all have to be,
or your play actions where you're getting on the move and shortening the throw. Sprint outs too. By the way, you can run some sprint out concepts where the beauty of a sprint out is you only got half a field, but now you have a way to throw that field pass.
right?
Because
everything's in range.
I run
now,
to
right?
the field and now everything's boundary, right?
Yeah.
I can either throw my quick game to the boundary or I can run my sprint out to the field.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options there. I mean, you can work so many things into it just to get the ball down the field, make it look like you have a passing attack. Because you do. Honestly, you talked about being
You
2 of
should.
4
Yeah,
in the
you
wing
should.
T, and that is a passing attack. That is, as a defensive coordinator, I am furious because you can't do both. You've got to
Yep.
give up something, right? So that not only is perception reality, but reality is reality. If you go out and complete some passes, you do have a passing attack. Now, if they take all that crap away because you're just throwing very simple stuff, by all means, run the ball, right? We always get back to that. But to go where the defense ain't. I think that's the simplest form of offense, what we're talking about. Sweet. So, just review tonight. We talked about putting together a simple passing game, what goes into that, why you can do it right now where you are, coach. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what team you've got. You can put together and you'll probably benefit from putting together a simple passing game. Right now, we're all doing it, Joe. We're all watching clinics. We're going to clinics. We're all building up the Art Briles stinking Baylor offense. We're little. I tell you what I'm doing. I'm watching OUSC out there, because that's Lincoln Riley's offense is one I love. But I also understand that I will have to quickly take a paring knife. I'm going to throw in a cooking reference here because I'm at a cooking school.
There we go.
To my expectation or my plan
It's the little knife.
when I have to cut her down to expectation. It is the little knife. Congratulations. Good job. That's very good of you.
It's the only one I know the name of.
Everybody knows a chef's knife. That's all you need. Chef and paring, roll out. You're great. We
There's
talked about
more in
perception
between
being
where I'm
reality.
yeah.
And then, you can fit a simple passing game to your kids no matter what school you're at, no matter what level you're at. There is a simple passing game for you. You just have to simplify things down to what they can get it. One more time, remind you guys to refer a listener. Send this podcast out. Look, I don't know how many episodes there are now, Joe. 800. You've said it a couple times, but there's a lot, right?
It's a lot.
Something in there.
700 and
something in there is going to be for you. Something else might be for your friend. Something else might be for their friend. But there's something in there for everyone. The podcast has been going for a long time. There's lots of great episodes. Amongst those episodes, last week we talked about needing a simple defense, and we went back to the old 4-2-5 and just broke down the basics of it. So we kind of got away from all the, we've done a lot of fancy stuff the last 2 years, Joe. Kind of got away from that and just went right back to the basics. And then next week, once again, we're talking about lack of time to coach the right things. We did a podcast a month or two ago about the ball, right? The Saban mindset, how in high school that's hard to get in. Next week's going to cover a little bit of that, right? It's just about what you value. You've got to you got to get in what you need in. And if that's a simple passing game so your defense can be better, great. If it's a simple passing game because you don't have a quarterback, great. Make time for whatever it is you need. Prioritize, and your practice schedule can be very, very short. But more than that, require your coaches to be good coaches. We'll talk way more about that, though, next week. Let's pay the bills and get out of here, man.
Yeah, I talked about it before. Go to joedanielfootball.com/system to get access to the free download. Where's the name? What you need to know to build your ultimate defensive football coaching system. It's a guide that's going to give you the blueprint to building a defensive system that works to simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, which is what we're all looking for, and take control of the game. You can download the free copy right now, joedanielfootball.com/system. Take the guesswork out of your coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around this season. Go to joedanielfootball.com/system or ask Siri to remind you. If you're driving, don't try to type it out on your
That is a long one.
Yeah. Well, you can just go to joedanielfootball.com and you'll find
Problem solved. I want to talk about Patreon here in closing. Patreon's a place where I have kind of dedicated some time, some knowledge, some creative ability, and went over and just made a place for coaches to come get help for whatever they need. So that's what I want you to do, is think about what it is that you don't know in football. Look, I understand that we still have some guys that aren't computer literate, and I don't mean that in a rude way, but some of us are really freaking good at this, and some of us are not. If that's what it is, I can help you with that. If it's graphics work, I can help you with that. If it's building out a template to put your roster in every year so that you can print it out and give it to the other team or the press box, I can help you with that. There's a ton of stuff. The world has moved on from pen and paper. We've actually moved on from Microsoft Suite, really. Everything's in the Google Drive now, and we can get you there. Okay, everybody but Joe has moved on from pen and paper. But
graph paper, fellas.
I can help you get your game plan in Google so that you and your coaches can work on it simultaneously, right? The world has changed. I can help get you guys there. Patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Jump over there today and pick a tier. If there's not a tier for you, DM me, email me, whatever, and we will make it. I will make one. It'll be called your name. You'll have your own tier. I don't care. Let's jump out of here. Sales that are opening and closing. What do we got going? It is around the beginning of April, maybe the second week of April. I'm not sure where we're at yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe the week before April. I think we might be back on
March, which would be football. Well, we're kind of repackaging Football Coaching 101. It's going to look a little bit different. That may be still available. If not, then I think I misspoke last time. Game Film Masterclass will be opening. We'll have a special offer for Game Film Masterclass here in April.
Awesome. Social media. I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. I also has a website, chamberlainfootballconsulting.com. It's a great place to go find the podcast. I've not done a lot with it otherwise. That is the least of my priorities. And then, of course, I talked about the Patreon, patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. And I even have a YouTube. I've been teaching my wife football via my own YouTube channel. I say, hey, wife, what do you not know about ball? And she says, I don't understand when you say gap or zone. Sweet, let's talk about it. So that's what I've been making episodes for, making them for my wife. You can probably give them to your wife, honestly. It's a great way to get your wife involved in what you do. Joe, where can we find you at, sir?
You can find me joedanielfootball.com, and joe@joedanielfootball.com is the email. I am on Instagram at joedanielfootball, TikTok at joedanielfootball, and Facebook.com/joedanielfootball. And Twitter is @footballinfo.
So love it. It's still the best Twitter handle of all time.
I've had it since 2009. That was, I think I got that definitely before Joe Daniel Football existed, but before I think any business existed, maybe before football defense existed.
That's awesome. The podcast is at the FBCP. If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher. Spotify and Apple Podcast are going to be the biggest two. Almost all of you are listening on Apple Podcast. I get it. I'm a Spotify guy because I'm always the outlaw, except iPhones. I don't know. Sue me. If you've been listening for a while, please leave a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. That's where the majority of our traffic comes from. We'd love for you to share out. Once again, share it to a friend. But the more times, if you go in there and give us a good review, the more good reviews you have, the more people find it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. And remember, coach simple, play fast, win.